Hello, everybody. Welcome back live at Drew's house. Another edition. Hope everybody is doing well out there. I'll take a minute here just to catch up and hope everybody's having a good spring and getting outside. And I've been to a couple of live music shows, which has been very exciting. Nice to have that back. I'm so happy for all the musicians that we have on this show that are getting back out there and playing. So that's all good. And the state is, here we go, ready to fully reopen. So, ditch the mask if you want. And I know a lot of people will still be wearing them, which is all well and good, but an exciting time, certainly. So I hope everybody's doing well out there, staying healthy. Certainly it's going to be a virus that will stick with us here in a lot of ways, but the state is doing well. The numbers of people getting vaccinated are great. I know there are those who are not getting vaccinated for whatever reason. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to do that because I'm not a doctor. I'll let the doctors do that. But it seems like Massachusetts as a whole is doing well. So I'm very excited about my guest today. Nate Ebner, remember that name? He was a New England Patriot, played under Belichick, played with Brady, special teams extraordinaire. He's about to join us here in just a moment. He's also, if you remember, he left the game and went on to be an Olympian. He was in the Olympics, Rugby National Team. Pretty cool. So we'll talk with Nate here in just a moment and bring him in. I'm not sure what the deal is as far as getting back to the studio and that stuff too. I know a lot of people have asked me that. We'll see. I'll make sure I'll talk to Sarah Hayden over there, the boss, and see what she wants to do. And, we will, we'll see how it all plays out. Maybe a little bit of a hybrid. That's been a word. A little bit here, maybe. But I would like to get back into the studio, especially when we do the live music shows. Go in there and get some musicians in, and musicians love playing in that studio. So it'll be great to get some of those guys back in there. All right, so let's bring in Nate Ebner anyway. I think he's about ready. Former New England Patriot, Nate Ebner. Here we go. All right, we bring in Nate Ebner now. Nate, how are you, sir? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so a lot of us around here remember you for, let's start with the great years with the New England Patriots. Those must be fun years for you. You were a fan favorite around here.
Yeah, those were good times. I'll always be thankful for the time I had in New England. It was a great place for me to land coming out of college with the lack of experience that I had. And it was very fitting for my personality. And it was a long ride. I was thankful for every year I got there, and all good things come to an end. So, fortunately, no longer there. So,
what have the most recent years brought for you? You living out in California now? I know that's where you are now, but
I'm currently in the process of training to go to the second Olympics, my second Olympics here for the 2021 Olympics in Japan. We'll see what happens with all that. It's kind of crazy right now, but yeah, just training. And training center's out in Chula Vista, California. So I'm out here for now. But my home base is Columbus, Ohio. That's where I'm from. So.
Okay, cool. So your story was well documented. It was, I wouldn't say not necessarily a crazy one. Everybody knows you're a great athlete, but you go from football and make the jump to the national team for the last Olympics. I mean, this has been kind of a crazy ride for you.
I mean, yeah, from the jump, it's just kind of what it's been. At the end of the day, it's kind of been one of those things where I've just really just followed my heart. Played so much rugby growing up as a young kid, and kind of ran out of road there in the United States for myself. That kind of made me look in different directions, and decided why not try to play football at Ohio State. And again, just kind of followed my heart, grinded through that. Luckily, had the opportunity to come to New England. I got drafted by the Patriots. And, once the Olympics rugby got put into the Olympics, that was announced, and then we actually qualified. That was something that just heavily weighed on my heart and something I thought about on a daily basis that I couldn't really kick. And again, my heart was getting pulled, and luckily I had so much support from Bill and the whole Patriots organization, and they supported me from the jump, and I got to go do something that was a once in a lifetime opportunity that meant so much to me, not only for rugby, but to represent our country. And then, just continuing to play and continuing to grind and just like I said, follow my heart.
Talk about that road to rugby. I mean, what is the passion for you? Is it just physical sports or in general, or is there like football, rugby? What's the one when you know your heart's really all in?
Well, I mean, I allude to that in my book a bit. Football has my like attention. I say something along those lines, but rugby has my heart. And it was something that's been around me my entire life, a sport that I love. But it's not in the same place that the NFL is in. So, the impact that comes with being able to play in the NFL, that influence in your life is a lot stronger. So, with that opportunity, it's something like I felt I had to take anyways. But yeah, rugby has always kind of owned my heart. And I would say in general, though, I do have this love for the training side of things that my dad kind of instilled in me. The grind, if you will, that whether it be football or rugby or weight room stuff or just the grind of work, I enjoy being in the moment and really working hard. And that was something that was instilled in me at a young age, and doesn't really matter what we're doing. So
I take it that's the book right behind you there over your left shoulder.
Yeah, it is. Right here.
There you go. I could show it. Finish strong is the
right
title.
Yep.
Beautiful. I'm always kind of curious. Let's stay with the book for 1 second. What makes you write a book? Does somebody have to convince you of it? Did you always know you wanted to do it? Or you talking?
No. Yeah, I didn't. There wasn't something like I was like, I can't wait to write a book about my life. Like, come on. It was something people had mentioned to me, talked about, you have a cool story, whatever. And, I'm a pretty private person anyway, though. So it's not like I was jumping at the bit to go tell everyone about my life. But, I kind of knew it was unique. I knew what I had been through. I always felt that I could inspire people through, loss, if you will, and just challenges in life. And Urban Meyer came up to me in an off season after going to the Olympics and coming back and winning the Super Bowl and having an all-pro year, and just was like, "Hey man, you need to tell your story. You need to write a book." And I kind of laughed, but I was like, "Okay." Following year, came back, tore my ACL, and I found myself with a lot of time. And I said, "You know what? I think I'm going to take him up on that. I'll write that book." And he really helped me get that thing off the ground and get started. And then here we are a couple of years later I got the book in my hand. It's crazy. It's awesome.
It is crazy. He's a busy man, these things too, Urban Meyer.
Yeah. He's all business, man. He's great though.
You mentioned your dad a little bit there. What do you think? I mean, obviously the work ethic, but what are the traits you really you stole from him? You got from him?
Big question. I mean, really, well, if we're talking about me personally, like I think his examples of how he parented me is the gold standard for how parents should love their children. I talk a lot about that in my book. I think that's as much about my book is about that as much as anything else. People see the football or the rugby, and it's definitely a sports book, but it's a very human story that we can all relate to with, if you've got kids or even have parents, we all do. So it's very relatable in that sense to everyone. But, from a parenting perspective, everything I hope that if I have children one day that I can do him just the smallest bit of justice for how good he was to me by the examples he led. But as far as what he instilled in me personally, that was a mental toughness. I would sum it up as a mental toughness that was really unbreakable. Something that when things get difficult, I lean into my own mind rather than fight against myself. I find that grind of things in life, the challenges, to be moments where I do best because of the mental fortitude that I've developed just through positive self-talk, belief in myself through hard work and seeing the results that come from that, and knowing the formula for me, which is if I do give everything that I absolutely have towards the goal that I'm trying to achieve, I can achieve it. If I'm willing to sacrifice all the things that, other people might think as a major sacrifice, not going to a party, or, having to go to bed early, or eating healthy, or, everything I can to put into what I'm doing, I usually can get the result that I want. And that in turn gives me the belief that I can do whatever I believe I want to do. And, ultimately that's kind of really been it. Just that positive belief in myself and self-talk that I can really get through anything. And I'd say to sum it up, it's just that positive self-talk. And
is that the kind of mindset that like every Olympian seems to have? Because I mean, it's such a small few that get to represent their country in the Olympics, especially in this country. It's a massive country. So is that kind of the mindset? I mean, when you make the jump to go to rugby and say, I'm going to try to make the national team, I mean, do you know you're that good, or do you say, I'm going to have to work at it, but if I work hard enough, I'm going to get there?
I can't speak for other Olympians. I don't know what their personal situation is. And a lot of times people are born with extreme talents that it might come easy to them, right? To me, I don't necessarily know that I was born with any specific talent. I'd say that my biggest talent is being able to grind, is the mental fortitude of having to go through the day in, day out grind of whether it be physical pain or just the meetings or trying to learn something new. That's kind of where I have success or people get worn out, and I don't tend to do that. And I'd say that as kind of my strength. But I knew I was good at rugby. I played it my whole life. I played on the junior national teams. I was doing all that stuff. So I knew I was a good player. Obviously a good athlete, played in the NFL for quite a few years. Yeah. But to just assume I would go in and be able to make the national team to represent the U.S. in the Olympics is a whole nother story. They pick 12 guys. They're the best our country has to offer. They do it full time, professionally. I hadn't played for 6 years. Mm-hmm. I knew it was going to be a tough challenge. But just because it was going to be a tough challenge, it wasn't like, oh, this is going to be hard for you, so, just don't even bother. It might not work, so, maybe not. Maybe you shouldn't try. It was like, look, man, go in there. You've played a ton of rugby. Give it everything you have to this every day. Work your ass off. Put in all the pain and sweat that you need to, and see what happens. And then if you don't make it, you go to sleep at night knowing I did everything I could. I tried as hard as I could. I put everything I had into it, and it wasn't meant to be. And I can sleep fine at night with that. Yeah. But turns out you might get in really good shape. You might come back into your really good rugby skills. You might really come on and hit your stride and be someone that can really help our team out to do well in the Olympics. And just the chance of that happening is worth the risk to me. Of what was the risk? Potentially I could have gotten hurt, right, and ruined my whole NFL career. But I mean, we could all get in a car accident too and stuff like that. So I don't look too much into that stuff. But for me, the other side of it, outside of getting injured, what's the risk, right? Like I'm embarrassed because I didn't make it. Like I don't. This is the best players in the world, I'm trying, you know what I mean? Like, I don't find that embarrassing. I think it would be an honor that I even got to go in and, help them, even if I didn't get selected, and be a part of that journey to, help. I mean, ultimately for me, I love rugby, right? We talked about that. And I want to see as much growth for that sport in our country as I can. And, I think I'm in a unique position to help influence a lot of people, at least to get their eyes to maybe take a look at something they otherwise wouldn't look at. So, I mean, I feel like it's almost a duty to do my part. But then again, also just the competitor in me is like, you've played rugby, you're in your athletic prime, right? You have a great opportunity here. Take a chance and see what you can do. And it's really not anything more than that. My heart, like I said, pulled me in that direction. I gave it everything I had, and it worked out for the best for me. But if it hadn't, like I said, I'd be able to sleep at night.
What's it like right now for you guys? So you're out there training. Is like, you get 16 NFL weeks. You get a training camp before that. this season, you kind of have time to build all this chemistry. How does that, is it a close-knit rugby team? Is it competitive? Like, what's the chemistry like?
I mean, it's obviously competitive, but it's, the NFL is competitive. NFL training camp is just insanely competitive, right? I mean, you've got 100 guys and they're going to cut it to 53 or whatever. It's crazy. And, but rugby is also competitive. It's, it's the Olympics, right? But there's only 25 to 30 guys. And with that, it's a really intimate setting, 7-on-7 on the field at a time at most. And it's just a lot tighter of a group. It's a much more free-flowing sport that is more reactive and let's think the same way as we're playing, like basketball. And that takes relationship building. That takes, understanding how someone thinks and how they play, because we're all different. And football is much more like, this is the formation they're in. And if they motion this way, this is what we'll check it to. And it's just like, know your playbook, right? I mean, you got to know players and what your teammates do, but not to the extent of rugby. So it is a much more smaller group, more intimate, and those relationships are tend to be a lot closer because of how much you interact with one another.
Again, we're joined here by Nate Ebner, and I imagine that those relationships end up being really, really tight for the next 10, 15, 20 years too, because it's such a select few that get to go wear those American colors, those USA colors, and represent the country. Do you still kind of get those chills when you think about that patriotism and the whole world's watching and you're there representing the United States?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no greater honor to me. I talk about this in my book about how much, America means to me, and being at a young age, traveling all over the world, seeing some really bad places and really appreciating the country that I live in. And then, getting to go represent that country on another continent and seeing a country that doesn't even speak English cheer for the United States and just that really hit me as what I'm representing, and yeah, it's an extremely huge honor. And like I've alluded to, you're playing against some of the best in the world. You're the best that we have to offer. It's the pinnacle of sport. It's like the Super Bowl. It's the same thing. So.
Yeah, man, I bet it is. And are you guys, I mean, do you already, what's the more difficult part of rugby besides like people that don't watch it all the time? This is like, you mentioned injuries. It is a physical sport, man. I mean, right. It's tough. You got to be tough to play rugby. I
mean, the most difficult part of it, it depends, if we're talking sevens, right? We're talking the Olympics. To me, the fitness level is unlike anything football players have to experience. I mean, if they think they have to be in shape, they just don't know.
Tom Brady couldn't hang. That's what you're saying.
No, he couldn't. And it's not a knock to him. He's elite at what he does. I can't throw a football like he can, right? I can't read defenses like he can. But, yeah, no, he could not run with us. It's just not a diss. It's just what it is. It's an insane amount of volume. It's an insane amount of just being in cardiovascular shape, high speeds. It's, football is 0 to 60 as quickly as you can for like 5 to 6 seconds. And then you get this long, 5 to 6 times that work rate of rest, right? So you're fully recovered. And the speed and the violence of football is unmatched because of those reasons, right? But rugby is, 7 minutes straight, and for instance, in sevens, and it's 95 to 100% of your capacity. You really can't maintain that for that long, but it's 90% capacity. It's, high speeds. It's your heart rate at 160 to 170 for a very long duration. It's a different energy system. I'd love to talk about that. It's just not max effort. You're in a very aerobic state with rugby. It's a huge part of that game. And I would say that is the hardest part about it, is getting yourself to use that energy system to be able to keep up with the speed of the game, to be impactful because it's such a high-paced game. That's tough. But rugby is also, there's the hitting and stuff, but again, it's just not like football. It's not 11 guys tackling one. It's, a lot of one-on-ones, and we have to keep shape, and we can't all tackle one guy because as soon as you do, he just passes it to the other one. So
What's the worst rugby hit you can take? Is there one that you like cringe, or maybe it's an actual hit?
Well, it's called a hospital pass, and it's like if I'm receiving a pass from somebody and he puts me up over my head, and I get super extended, and I'm just open to get hit. That's when you can get hit pretty good. But the nature of rugby is very, in my opinion, safe from a philosophical viewpoint. It's like I said, you got a lot of one-on-one tackles. You can't bring multiple people into the tackle because then they're just gonna pass it to the other guy. It's this constant game, so you're not at 100% capacity. You try to maximize that. You're at 90, 95, but it just takes the edge off when you're tired and have to continue to run. When you're gonna get hit in rugby. I'm gonna get hit when I either have the ball, I'm going to get hit when I'm tackling somebody with the ball, or I'm going to get hit maybe in a breakdown as I'm trying to ruck or protect the ball. But other than those situations, you can't just hit people. I'll run down on a kickoff and I'm like, there's people coming for your head and they might be coming from the other sideline. It's a much more violent game and interesting from a philosophical viewpoint and in terms of safety. So I'd have to go with rugby being the safer game. Now, you don't have equipment, you don't have pads on, so yeah, you might get cut, and sometimes people hit heads. Yeah, you might get a little bit of a ding, but that's going to happen. They get concussions in soccer too. So.
You hinted earlier at this interview about it's kind of a weird time to be talking Olympics right now because they're still having their issues. We're in Japan, and I wonder, do you guys block that all out, or do you actually talk about that? You know what? These games are kind of interesting right now. They're probably going to go on, but they're going to be a little different. Are you having those conversations?
I mean, we're human beings, right? We hear the conversations, and I'm in a unique situation. Me personally, like I plan to come back to the Giants and play an NFL season, and my future is kind of there, right? But these guys have worked their tails off for years. Then this comes around, they push the Olympics back a year, and then we're here. They went a whole year without a normal season, and they're just kind of playing against each other. It's been tough on them. And then now they're getting ready to go into the Olympics that got pushed back a year, and now there's all this talk about what Japan's thinking and whatnot. But at the end of the day, like I said, we're humans and there's those conversations. But at the end of the day, that stuff's out of our control. All we can control is our work ethic and practice and what we're doing on an individual basis and a team basis to prepare ourselves for the Olympics, because we're going to prepare like we're rocking and rolling, and that's all you can do. And whatever happens, right? But we're not going to go into this unprepared because we were like, well, they were talking about it and we didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, we're doing everything that we can. And but there's frustrations there for sure, no doubt.
A couple quick hitters here to end with you. I know you're a busy man, so I'll let you go after these, but I'd be remiss not to ask you a couple final Patriots ones since you're in that neck of the woods. What was it like playing for Coach Belichick? It seemed like he always had nice things to say about you. You got the same or what?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said at the beginning, playing in New England was a great experience. It was a great place for me to come into. I talk a lot about that in my book. It was for someone who didn't play much college football and then no high school football, I needed to learn a lot, and that was a great environment for me. It was also the type of environment that treated everyone equally, and how hard you worked was kind of what you got. And that was what I needed. I needed that small window of opportunity so I could just have a chance. And, I was given that, and I was given the opportunities. The harder I worked at things, I was given more opportunities, and it was very fair. And it was, the type of organization that has the right kind of culture, and it starts with Bill. And, he has guys that of all time, his Hall of Famers, his Brewskis and Bribbles and those guys that are, amazing players that he loves, right? He loves those guys. But when you're in that locker room, Tom Brady or undrafted free agent who is a rookie and we don't know you, I mean, we're all treated the same. And Bill is really the only one who can drive that home, and he did it fairly. And it was awesome to see. And then you get guys like Tom who don't take that personal. They understand it, and then they come to work every day and they grind their tail off. And then as a young player, you come in and you see this. You see Bill treating Tom Brady just like he treats everybody else. You see Tom Brady working just as hard as everybody else. It's very cut and dry. Come in here, go to work, do as best you can. That's how we're going to build trust within each other. And we're going to do it day by day by day. And it was a really good environment. And Bill, I know people think he can be a dry guy or whatever, or mean or cutthroat, but he's very focused and elite at what he does and efficient at what he does. And, he is all business in a way. And but at the same time, he really understands the guys he has in his locker room. To let me go play in the Olympics, he knew he had a rugby player on his team, and he knew my story about my dad. And, he knew what that would mean to me to represent our country. So he knew about me. It wasn't, I got some kid here that's going to run fast on kickoffs or something, right? It was, he knew about me. So he knows his players. And, at the end of the day, man, that was first class. The whole Patriots organization, him and Mr. Kraft, after them, they just followed behind him. And it was such great support for that. So I'll always be thankful for them. I'll be thankful for my tenure there. I don't really have anything but good things to say about my time in New England.
When you look around that locker room, I mean, you made it to the highest level of football, and not so few people get to do that in an NFL locker room. I wonder, do you ever look around and go, man, Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame quarterback? I mean, you're playing with Tom Brady there. You guys are teammates. I mean, maybe do you look back on that in 20 years, you think, and say, that was a crazy time?
Yeah, maybe in some due time I'll look back and say something along those lines. But when you're in it, man, we don't have time for you to sit there and be starstruck or worry about things that don't matter today, that don't matter about the defense that you're playing. It doesn't matter if Tom's the quarterback or Jimmy Garoppolo was or whoever was there, right? If I'm playing defense, I'm just playing defense to the best of my ability. And, but yeah, I mean, those things, but you don't try to give them too much of a thought because they don't do anything for you.
There's one little, I don't even know if you realize this. There's certain players that come through Boston and, Patriots, Red Sox, whatever, that, maybe they're not even here for that long, like in your case, but fans like always remember. And you're one of those guys. I think it's probably because of the grind aspect. I mean, you threw your body on the line for special teams, but like you mentioned your name here. Nobody ever goes, oh, wait, who was that again? It's like, oh, yeah, man, he was a special part of those teams. And it's like you're one of those, you fall into that unique category. So I don't even know if you realize that. But.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I was a part of that team for 8 years, nearly a decade, went to 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah, in football terms, that is a very long time, isn't it?
Right. So, I always say, like, me and Matt Slater were kind of Batman and Robin. And, we kind of did a lot there. I think Bill gave me a lot of responsibility through a communication role in all 4 phases of special teams, and I really took ownership of that. And I think by the end of it, it was like I can really count on this guy to just handle his stuff. And it's not something I need to put excess focus on because he got the most out of me to execute at the highest level I was capable of, as consistent as I could. And it became okay, I can kind of let him own that. Him and Matt can own those types of things. And that was really cool to be given the keys in a way and do it for as long as we did do it together. Anyways, Matt's still there, but
he'll make you smile.
It's he's my guy, man. He'll always be my guy. But yeah, man, it was a great time there, and I felt like I was a big part of that. I didn't feel like, because I was a core special teams player, I was any less valuable because, we made game-changing plays ourselves. And Bill did a great job of highlighting that as being as impactful as anything else in the game. You know, when we block a punt and change the field position, or you know, tackle a guy inside the 10-yard line on a kickoff, you know, Bill was very good about showing the impact that had in the game, as much as, you know, a guy catching a touchdown pass or making a block, you know. So
yeah, great stuff, man. Great career. Well, final minute, we do rapid fire. First thing that comes to your head real quickly, favorite teammate of all time?
Matt Slater.
I thought you might say that. Very good. Favorite musician?
The Weeknd.
All right. Favorite movie?
Maybe Justin Bieber though, but I'll probably go with The Weeknd.
All right.
Favorite movie? Ooh, probably Blade Runner 2049.
All right.
Probably I'd love to have some debates on that, but for me, I love that movie. It's elite.
Toughest stadium to play in?
My initial thought was like Loud, and I went to Seattle, but Kansas City was tough. I mean, we always had some battles in Kansas City. I think I'll probably go there.
Best win you guys ever had here in with the Patriots? Is there one that it was like super gratifying?
For me, when we were down in like 2013, we were down to Denver by like 21 or more points at halftime, and it was like freezing cold, like the coldest game I can ever remember. And then Wes Welker muffed the punt, and I actually recovered the fumble, and then we kicked the field. Steve made the field goal, and we won. That was pretty dope. That was like kind of one of my like first moments as a Patriot. That was like a big impact. That was cool for me. That's one that sticks out in my mind. That was pretty
Damn, cool. I remember that. That was 2013. Jeez.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Feeling weird now. 2013. My goodness. All right, very cool. And lastly, what's the one thing you take away from like when somebody says Patriots fans to you? What's the one thing that comes to mind?
Well, first thought was best in the league, honestly. You know, I don't want to catch flack for that being with the Giants or anything, because they've been awesome to me, no doubt. But the Patriots, you know, I went to Ohio State, and there were no bigger fan base than Ohio State. And I thought I would never experience anything like Ohio State. And when I got to New England, and I'm in Foxborough, Massachusetts, and I'm, you know, right up in the heart of it, you know, they breathe and eat and sweat and all that, the New England Patriots. So I was taken back by how big and awesome and loyal the fan base was to the Patriots. I thought I'd never see anything like Ohio State again, and here I was in New England, and it was very comparable, to say the least. Maybe competitive with – I definitely say it was competitive with like an Ohio State, which is, you know, that's saying a lot, especially for me to say that, you know. But and a bit snobby, because we know if we're not winning by enough in the, you know, in a playoff game, God, you know, we had to go about it. We had to kill everybody, you know. It was funny sometimes in that stadium. But no, they're great fan base. And I would also like to add that when I'm out in public, I would get nothing but just love, man, from people that I walked by, and if they noticed me, and just love, man. It was a great place to come play, for sure.
I'm telling you, man, you were a fan favorite. Nate Ebner, thank you so much for taking the time. Good luck with the book, and good luck here with the Olympics, because I know it's a lot of hard work, and I know it's a dream of yours to represent again, and just have a blast with it, man. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for having me, man. Take it easy.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right. That was pretty cool, huh? Nate Ebner, former New England Patriot, national team for rugby. How about that? Let's hope the Olympics all go off, and, you know, we can get back to normal and all that good stuff. But that was a lot of fun. Covered a lot of ground with him, and seems like a good guy. So Nate Ebner, there you go. That'll do it. Live at Drew's house, another edition. Peace.